Hi everybody, this is Jamie Tuckey with Compass Real Estate in San Diego. How are you? It's January 21st, 2022. This video is coming on the tails of a video I put out a couple days ago about the importance of knowing whether you are in or out of this market. It's a very critical strategy specific time, and if you're caught in fear or doubt, you're really disempowering yourself. It's better to know that you're out of the market and know that clearly than to kind of be straddling it. And thanks for all the kind comments. And I'm starting these videos, which are much more personal and lengthy. I apologize if it's too long, but I can be myself and I can talk about things that I like talking about and things that are important to me about this market. And so thanks for the positive feedback, and you have my permission to give me a hard time if you don't see these videos on a somewhat regular basis. So today I thought it would be best to help contextualize what this market is in relation to the last 17 years when it comes to property data and the last 30 years when it comes to mortgage rates. So this is a graph showing average sales price. And by the way, I can slice this 1,000 different ways to make it more specific to you and your specific market segment. Today we're going to be looking at detached properties in San Diego County across 4 data sets. We're going to be looking at average sales price, average percent of sold price versus asking price, average market time, and then average active listings on market. And then finally, again, looking at the 30-year history of mortgage rates, average mortgage rates. So let's jump in. Again, I can make these for you very easily. So average sales price, again, here's 2004 down here. Here's 2021 over here. This is an interactive graph, so as I hover, you can see pricing. So we were at 717 in February of 04. We peaked in late 07, early 08, 926. Then the last big crash / depression, down to 553, almost a 50% drop in values. Right around 2010, we start picking back up, and there's a couple of waves. And then since COVID hit, things have really greatly accelerated right there. So since COVID hit, we've been looking at 980 to 1372. So even before COVID hit, we were above the 07-08 high, and then it got accelerated even more. Now we're at 1.372 million for average sales price of detached properties in San Diego County. When we look at average percent received of original price, we see a very similar trend, right? So, but it's kind of the inverse. So in 08, we see the lowest. Sellers are only getting 91% of what they're asking on average. And we see the resurgence back in 2010, things start getting more competitive. When COVID hits, the same acceleration happens. We're now, instead of 98% of asking, and that's even by itself, and even 91% of asking is a very strong market. It's just significant or representative of how in demand San Diego is, even at the lowest markets, right? It's a great place to live. It's a great place to own property. So again, even you're just seeing these big dips and peaks and whatnot, but the demand is always there. And sellers are not getting, shafted. They're not getting completely worked by lows in markets and cycles. So that's good to know, Anyways, back to the COVID acceleration. We are now at close to 103% average listing price versus sold price. So sellers are getting 3% more on average of what they're asking. This solicits a bunch of questions about strategy with pricing. Do you underprice to get multiple buyers? Do you try and price ahead of it so that more people who know it's aggressive would come in strong? There's different ways to price it. And then again, on the buy side, it's very important that you know how it's priced relative to what it's worth. 7, 8 times out of 10 or more for me, the property that my client's interested sells above asking. It's very regular. So what's very important is you have to know the seller's strategy for pricing. Did they already price it above what it's worth? And then that's your baseline, right? And then it's what you run into in the competition. You know, how special is the house as a bidding war may or may not be happening. But the first step is to find the baseline. How did the seller price it? Regardless of all that tactical stuff, 103% of the asking price is the average sold price in December of 2021, which is the last complete month we've had. And then average market time. So again, it's an inverse, during the slowest times. So from 2010 to 2012, as things resurged price-wise, the demand slowed, and we see that reflected in the amount of time it took to sell a property, average. And this, again, is detached property. This falls on a steady rate all the way down to now. We are now at 22 days on market. Depending on the market segment you're in, there's different time frames for this. But generally, under $1 million, the basic strategy is we're going to have 3 days of showings. You either make it or you don't. The offers are due Tuesday. If it lists on a Thursday, for example, first showings are Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all offers accepted. Tuesday, no more showings after Monday. That's the general approach to properties under $1 million. And those are gone in 1 to 6 days, in my experience, particularly very coastal properties. So the average reflects, this 22-day average reflects a higher inclusion of price. So, obviously we go up pretty high. And there's the sellers who don't price it right, and properties that are overpriced and that will never sell right because there's too much stigma, or the seller is unrealistic or whatnot, and that helps keep the average high. Again, would love to make this specific to you and your target so that we can get a more accurate picture here. Anyways, makes sense. And then, lots of demand. What do you need to get a high price? You need low inventory, right? Supply and demand. So we see the same inverse timing here. These all kind of reflect the same general economic trend. There was a shortage in 2014 that was lower than 04, of 972, and the high in 07, by the way, was 2585. So we're down 60% or so down here. Then a resurgence, and then again COVID hits, and just a rapid drop. So over the course of 16 years, we've gone from 2582 to 206. I've read from people who I trust and believe that we are at an all-time San Diego inventory low right now. So that's the context. in terms of property data, and then let's compare that, or just take in the fact of mortgage rate history. So this is from the late 80s to 2022, and you can see a very specific trend. You know, you've got late 90s or late 80s, you've got almost, well, over 11%. 94, 9.25. Again, these are average fixed rate mortgages for 30-year mortgages. Another peak in 2000, 8.62. Another peak in 2008, 6.26. Another peak in 18, 4.94. And the low of the low was December of 2020, 2.66. And right now we are on a brief or a short climb trend, 3.56. But compare that to the historic trends, right? So this is very important to keep in mind with pricing, particularly if your loan to value ratio is extreme. You know, if you're only able to put down 3%, you're much more reliant on the cost of money to your overall monthly payment. So you're paying 3 to 10% over asking, over what it's worth on average. Well, 3% as we saw, to be specific, but compare that to the value of money, right? And you know, your lender can run those numbers of what that difference actually is per month. It's very significant. So the value of money combined with your unique buying circumstances can make it an acceptable market. You need to know, going back to my original video idea, whether you're in or out. So if you actually stayed with me during this whole video, big virtual high five to you for being a real estate geek, nerd, etc. I'd love to talk with you if there's a way to help you, or if you know somebody who needs assistance in San Diego real estate. Again, I appreciate you taking the time. Last thing, I'll direct you to whyjamie.com if you want to read about those who have worked with me and what they have to say about my services. 619-301-8137. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.